It's Allah today. And many people have been, of course, we have heard reports of what several governments across Nigeria have done to try to manage the period in the light of what is going on about COVID-19, maintaining social distancing, keeping safe, and all of that. The latest reports have given us is that of Ogun State, which has also banned any public gathering around the Salah this time. And I think that's a commendable thing. Perhaps to also paint and underscore what is important, which is the fact that our lives are a lot more important than just a celebration. Nothing takes away the essence of the time, but maybe we should just manage the celebration a little better.
Well, I don't know. It depends on what you mean by managing it a little better. Because, I mean, going through the roads this morning, you could see that I'm not sure if the messages resonate amongst the people out there, because what you see on the road just really leaves you wondering, thinking all sorts, whether or not the authorities, the government, institutions have got the capacity to actually enforce these things, and why they don't seem to want to internalize those messages such that they take those appropriate caution as it were. Yes, the authorities may have banned it, but I mean, looking through the roads today, first is those public buses, they were all packed to the brim. They were completely full. There's no social distancing riding those buses, and I thought, and then look at the roads, the way. So it's look, we've got a challenge right here. We do have a challenge, and when you then hear some decisions being with the PTF, the reasons why the rails had got to be open, and so all of these things culminate and keep those questions coming through. So, well, while you can, you just have to take personal responsibility now, because you can't depend on what you see going out there, and then throw caution to the wind. Because now, I mean, someone made a joke the other day. Look, the same way that you provide your water, your light, so many of those things, you just may bring in some of those principles and methodology to how you go about this, because it's better to be safe than sorry.
Okay.
Well, it's definitely worth greeting our Muslim viewers, this morning and saying happy celebrations to them. Eid Mubarak. It is the big Salah, you know how it is. Usually in almost every religion, especially at least Christianity and Islam, I'm aware of. I remember growing up and going to the village during Christmas, and one of the things that you'll hear is a small celebration and the big celebration. In my village, usually Christmas was considered the small celebration and the New Year the big celebration. And I think that, the church has struggled for many years to teach the people that, no, it should be the other way around. Christmas should be the big celebration, and, the New Year should be the small celebration. After all, it was just the turn of a new year. But, in the Muslim calendar, I know that also in many Yoruba customs as well, this is considered the big celebration. And so, I mean, it is the big one where we kill the ram. So to all my Muslim friends, you had better send my own share of the ram. That said, I think that some of the messages that we have seen coming from state governors and governments and even the federal government have been quite instructive. From Lagos State, where you guys are, I smiled quite a bit yesterday when I saw the message of the governor of Lagos State, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, asking Lagosians to calm down. He drew inspiration from the video of this little boy, which had gone viral, begging his mom to, "Mommy, please calm down." And he had obviously offended his mother. And mother, of course, was very upset. And he was a serial offender, you could tell from how his mother was saying, "Look, you did the same thing yesterday. How many times have I told you not to take this thing away from here?" And he was very diplomatic. He was advocating, "Mommy, please, I'm just saying you should relax." So the governor was able to draw inspiration from there and say, "Look, Lagosians, yes, it's a celebration period, but let's not forget, we're still in the middle of a pandemic. So let us calm down in terms of how we celebrate." We also saw in neighboring Ogun State there, the governor receiving people, Muslim clerics, and also telling them, "Look, there will be no public gatherings," and that's that. In Abuja here too, we also have the same thing. The FCT police commissioner reiterating the fact that the FCT authorities have said there will be no gatherings in public spaces. and that people should worship in their neighborhood mosques. And that's how it's going to be. The president also said, look, I'm celebrating Salah in my home. I wasn't sure which one of the homes now, whether it was in Katsina or was going to be in Aso Villa, but he will not be receiving any Salah homages. So anyone who wants to pay him homage, please hold your homage. He's not interested, not this time around. So I think all of these messages reiterate and reinforce the fact that we're still in the middle of a pandemic. And as such, we should all celebrate with some amount of sobriety. We should celebrate with some amount of moderation. We should celebrate with the thought for the next person. It's sad to see what you've seen on the roads going to work this morning, Chamberlain. The fact that people are desperate to get to places. And so you find that because you might not see a lot of vehicles on the road, or maybe you might, they're all cramped up inside those public vehicles. But as you rightly pointed out, it's no excuse for you to throw caution to the wind, because the fact that the next person is doing it, you don't know what that person is battling with. You know what you are dealing with. So you better look after yourself. You want to be here to celebrate many more Salahs, big Salah, small Salah. So as much as possible, ensure that you stay alive, ensure that your loved ones stay alive. Because one of the things is that you'll find a lot of family gatherings in this time, and we must spare a thought for those who could be vulnerable amongst us, especially the elderly folks who could be vulnerable, and ensure that we keep ourselves safe so that they too are here to celebrate many more Salahs with us. Gentlemen.
Well, yes, indeed. Today is the public holiday. Tomorrow is the Salah. So that's why people are grappling, trying to see where and what they can do while they can. So we're back in a moment to take you through our next phase. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's take you through some of the dailies. Well, this morning we've got Eddie Odiri, who's the former deputy editor of This Day newspapers, here with us today. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, let's take a look at Daily Trust first. Look at this. It's not what you want to see, but it is what's on the front page. Gunmen killed 13 family members in Kogi, 4 cops in Ebonyi. 142 killed, and then 44 kidnapped in North in 1 week. This is ascribed to a report. And then bandits planning to attack Southern Kaduna at Salah. That's the House of Reps caucus when they addressed journalists yesterday. Reject security apparatus, NLC tells Buhari. This is coming for the 18th time. But again, it takes us back to how challenging, the challenge we face with security.
It's a terrible problem besetting us as a country, because every day we are faced with this same problem of security or insecurity, as it were. The country is awash with so much of uncertainty in terms of safety. It is sad. We're dealing with the issue of Kaduna, the killings in southern Kaduna, yes. And then just yesterday, the story even said 14 persons were killed in Kogi. Nobody can explain this. And it's just a telltale sign of how our security apparatus has failed the country, and everybody is living apparently in fear. Nobody's sure. Everywhere, every part of the country, in the south, in the middle belt, in the north, everywhere. There's just so much of insecurity, and nobody can be sure of what happens to him next day. The other day, a lawyer was killed, and his wife and son abducted in Kaduna, in the same Kaduna, and everywhere, just harassed by insecurity. And of course, we're done with the issue. We are not even done with the issue of banditry in the Northwest. And then here we are, kidnapping, killing, and all of it. It's a terrible thing.
But why does it foist the, seeming helplessness when we all have institutions, agencies that can do these things, and then they appear helpless?
Yeah, my brother, it comes down to the issue of our security chiefs. If these are the people who head these institutions of security across board, and if over the years, repeatedly, they have continued to fail, then there's no reason they should be there. And that's the same reason the Senate had called that they should resign if the president will not sack them. They should, on the moral ground of ineptitude, resign from the offices they hold.
But you know, this thing is also, I'm just wondering, look, these are professionals in their field. Would they really want to be there and see things go this way? Or even if we bring new security chiefs, we had several. Not that we're making an excuse for them not to go. Does it then mean that, look, if we change them, we'll get those results?
Perhaps.
What's the guarantee?
No, perhaps. Because if these ones have the solution, they would apply it. But as it's seeming, every day, the same method, the same applications are applied, and then it is not yielding the result, then we should have a new set of people who probably will come with new ideas and rejig the situation and get us greater assurance of security. Because certainly the way we are, these guys are not getting it right.
Wouldn't you say we are expecting too much from the military when it's supposed to be the primary responsibility of the police?
Of the police? Well, together they all make up the security apparatus of the country. Whether the police or the soldiers or the Air Force or whatever, they are all a network of security organs in the country. And so we expect that all of them together, they should be able to curb the situation. There's nothing like expecting so much. Wasn't it the same thing all along? 20 years ago, was it like this? 15 years ago, was it like this? It's the same set of people, the same institutions. So it is just a failing of the people who are right now in charge.
Well, so many issues on the front page of News Direct this morning. Of course, insecurity is one of them, but that's not the lead. The lead is FG orders WAEC, NECO, JAM, others to release exam timetables. State expresses readiness for exams. Well, this is where we are now. WAEC, NECO, JAM. From the understanding we had was that, look, this particular one is supposed to start on August 17. So, was this order necessary?
Yeah. Having reviewed the situation, the country cannot be held down perpetually. And I think it's on the basis of the review and what they probably would have found out that they say, okay, fine, we can go ahead with the examination. And so if the federal government is asking these exam bodies to release their timetable, it is in tandem with that understanding that, yes, we can get on. Of course, not sacrificing the protocols, the safety protocols that should guide the operations of this exam.
You don't have any problem with all of the issues that have been raised around this issue of resumption of schools, reopening of schools for exit exams and all those things?
Well, I am actually a believer in the fact that exams are secondary, life first. We cannot sacrifice the life and fortunes of these children just because we want to meet up with exam dates. Yes, you could miss a year. It is far worse to miss a life. So if for the sake of safety and safety only, I think government thinks that we aren't ripe yet to open the schools, and I think I would support that. But all things being equal, if they assess the situation and they find that, okay, fine, probably we can take a chance. I'm sure that's what's leading to the issue of the exams for the exit classes now. Otherwise, the other worry would be whether government itself in their various schools have the capacity to get started. Are they ready? Is the government ready itself in the public schools? Yes.
Maupe. Okay, I understand Maupe is not there. You want to go with the Guardian?
Yeah, sure.
And get newspaper?
Okay, let's do this then. It's the same theme. That's why. It's also on security. Southern Kaduna, self-defense, way out of killings. Christian elders. This is what it's coming down to now if they have their backs against the wall. Defend yourself. Defend yourselves. NCEF tells Christians to revive Christian Trust Fund. And then Nigerians in diaspora petition ICC Stem tide, Southern Kaduna elders to Buhari, Southern Kaduna reps counter El-Rufai on causes. So they're going back and forth as to why this is really happening. And so you find this going on. But yeah.
I think it's a sad narrative that consistently Southern Kaduna has been in the eye of the storm of insecurity. And it didn't start with El-Rufai. If you recall, in the days of Zamani Lekwat, the same Southern Kaduna, Zango Kataf, they had a lot of problems, and it's sad to say that the people of Southern Kaduna have faced undue persecution from the state organ, as it were. Like Senator Sani tweeted yesterday, if killings are recorded in Zamfara, they are condemned. If there are killings in Southern Kaduna, they are explained. Why are we explaining it? Why are we explaining it? We should condemn it. And it is because government has failed the people, as it were. That is why Khan is now saying, defend yourselves. And when you come to that point of say defend yourself, it means there's anarchy on the land.
But look at this as well. Ohaneze Pandev Afenifere react as Mietiala sets up security outfits. So is it everyone for himself now?
Yeah, this same Mietiala, I've written about it before. It's like the Paulian philosophy. If the president be for me, who can be against me? 10 years before now, 15 years before now, we didn't hear about Mietiala. Mietiala was not there as a terror gang, harassing and killing people. But across board, we see Mietiala suddenly lionized, and they have become a killing giants, and everywhere. They are blaming it on Zango Kataf youths. In Benue, when Mietiala killed all the people, the farmers, was it Zango Kataf youths? Everywhere we have seen them. Wherever they have operated, they have wreaked havoc on the people, and I think it's strongly condemned. And it is all because the president seemed to have backed them, willingly or unwillingly.
Well, don't forget to check out the back page. Lille forced Napoli deal on Osimhen. Agents reveals. You find out if at this stage they're forcing deal down on you when you're about entering the club. So you can imagine, is this a sign of things to come? Well, who knows? Markwa?
Well, let's see if we can quickly look at the Daily Times for you now. National Assembly Amechi feud over controversial $5.3 billion Chinese loan. That's the lead story this morning. It looks like it's been a series of feud between the National Assembly on the one hand and ministers on the executive arm of government on the other. What do you make of this new feud that seems to be brewing between the Minister of Transport and National Assembly members?
Yeah, the Minister of Transport, remember he was before the House, and then they were talking about this China.
Yes, I read about it yesterday, and I'm pretty taken aback. There's a clause that will cede sovereignty to China. I don't see it happening. Knowing Honorable Rotimi Amici, I don't see him conceding, except it is by error. Except if he's not aware, but I doubt very strongly that he would knowingly sign an MOU that would cede the sovereignty. Well, this is not Zimbabwe. Nigeria is not Zimbabwe. It's not Kenya. It's not any of these countries. So I do not think it is something to worry about. I don't think it is any issue that should trouble our minds. Certainly, Amechi is patriotic enough not to concede the sovereignty of Nigeria to any other national entity.
But doesn't that raise bigger questions in terms of whether or not we look through these agreements before we eventually sign them? Because it's not the first time we are seeing clauses that we did not know were in the agreements that we ourselves had put pen to paper to. Shouldn't we raise questions as to how that clause got there without anyone noticing?
Oftentimes, such MOUs, sometimes they come in very tiny print. Such terrible, controversial clauses are usually in tiny but it's certainly not an excuse not to have seen it. If it is there, I think it is, and it was signed by the minister, then I think it must be an error, because I know that, knowing him and given his own persuasion, he certainly would not do anything to undo Nigeria.
We want to take a very quick look at the front page of The Guardian just before we call for the break. Nigeria-China trade imbalance widens despite currency swap. Nation's share of trade volume since 2013 is 11%. China missing in top 10 trading partner chart. And of course, that chart on the front page of the Guardian newspaper is something you may want to take a look at, as we go on. I think it's a good time for us to, we have to thank you very much, Eddie Odiwiri, Deputy Editor of this day newspaper. Thank you so much for your time today and perspectives. We're back in a moment to take on the issues for the day. Please stay with us.
Welcome back. Well, yes, it's the trafficking reports, the World Anti-Trafficking Day. Those are some of the issues we'll start off with this morning. And we've got the Director General of NAPTIP, Dr. Julie Okadnoli, joining us this morning from Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Well, it is indeed a challenging task. Yeah, it's a challenging one that, not just Nigeria, globally, that we're trying to grapple with, because, looking at the figures, this is a huge industry that, unfortunately, it is the case. But in your assessment of how we're proceeding with this, how are we faring?
Well, I think so far so good. A lot of Nigerians are becoming more aware of the dangers of human trafficking and the signs of trafficking. Yes, of course, you cannot stop some people from still trying, to, travel out of Nigeria for so-called greener pastures, because this fight is a fight that is meant for the whole of government and the whole of society. So, some communities still do not understand what trafficking is, and then each and every one of us have a role to play, and we must play our roles to ensure that we bring the crime of human trafficking to the barest minimum at the least.
But if you look at some of the reports, I know that the U.S. State Department did release what they refer to as the 2020 Trafficking in Persons Report, and Nigeria, we were on Tier 2 watch list, and that meant that we didn't meet the minimum standards, which is making significant efforts to be in compliance. So what are we missing in that regard?
Well, honestly, I'm not going to lose sleep about this report, because it's very curious in the sense that the destination countries who are the beneficiaries of human trafficking are mainly on Tier 1 and Tier 2. We are the victims here. Most of our girls and boys are trafficked there. Taxes are collected from them. They are forced into prostitution. Their organs are taken off them. They are forced into domestic servitude and all of that. I've made it clear times without number, and I've said to them, I do not understand how America can be on Tier 1. They don't even have an agency that fights human trafficking. Nigeria has a whole agency fighting human trafficking. In America, it's left to the NGOs. And how can they be on Tier 1? The crime of human trafficking is worse in America than even in Nigeria. So I don't even know the criteria. Now they bring in other factors like, the military, the this, the that. I'm like, I have nothing to do with the military. Human trafficking has nothing to do with the military. Where does the military come in here? They keep bringing in the military as an excuse. The military, they use child soldiers. The military, they do this. They arrest young people and all of that. I say, if you want to talk about human trafficking, there's a protocol. We have the Palermo Protocol. We are all signatories to that protocol. Why don't you define human trafficking the way the Palermo Protocol has defined human trafficking? Why are you bringing in extraneous matters in rating Nigeria? As far as I'm concerned, Nigeria should be on Tier 1.
But when you say you don't have much regard for that report, one can understand your patriotism, but talking about the fact that Nigeria is a victim, well, perhaps that might also be right. But what do you say to the fact that when these humans are trafficked to these countries that you talked about, there is a collaboration between Nigerians in those countries and the nationals of those countries and perhaps others? Isn't that something to consider?
Absolutely. It has nothing to do with my being patriotic. It's just a statement of fact. I'll give you a simple example. For example, I know that without the nationals of the destination countries, human trafficking will not thrive. But I tell you that most of the time they ask us to prosecute our own. They give us information concerning the Nigerians, who are into trafficking. And I ask a simple question. How about the citizens of your country who are collaborating and cooperating with this and partnering with these Nigerians who are into trafficking, and they tell you, oh, sorry, it's only the Nigerians? Absolutely impossible. So as long as they are not prosecuting theirs and we are prosecuting ours, honestly, it will just be an exercise in futility. And I know that we've done so much in terms of trying to prosecute Nigerian traffickers, but I mean, I don't see that happen in most of the destination countries. They make it appear as though it's a Nigerian problem, but I tell you that it's a global problem and we must attack it globally.
Well, when you say that you don't want to pitch this against the military in any way, well, that might also be understandable. But there are domestic reports that also say that security officers or people in authority at especially IDP camps, they take advantage of these people for one reason or another, sex trafficking, labor trafficking, and all of that. Are you aware of that, and what is being done about it?
That is very possible, and the truth is that if the cases are not reported, and for example, we have NAPTIP officers in the IDP camps because we have a zonal command in Maiduguri. So we have NAPTIP officers who go there to carry out sensitization campaigns, who go there to carry out investigations, counseling, and so on and so forth. And if the people do not tell us that these guys are responsible for all sorts of atrocities in the camps, like rape and all of those things we hear, there's absolutely nothing we can do. We cannot manufacture evidence against anyone. But if anybody is reported to NAPTIP and NAPTIP does not act, then that will be a problem. But I tell you that no report has been given to us that we haven't taken any actions on.
Part of that report also said that we didn't provide evidence of our increasing efforts to combat severe forms of trafficking, which one needs to find out. What are we doing about documentation, stepping up some of these things? Because yes, it is a challenge. In fact, even cases such as rape, compiling details, addressing some of those issues. We have challenges with some documentation. What are we doing? How are we improving or addressing those gaps that we've got?
I can tell you for free that we gave them all the necessary documents they required, and we are up to date in our reports. And I can tell you too that even the Americans are not up to date with their trafficking reports. Let them produce their last trafficking report. The last report that they have was like maybe some 5, 6, 7 years ago. So if they produce their latest report, I will produce my latest report and tell you that we are even more up to date in terms of reporting.
Now, in terms of the awareness, ensuring that people understand what trafficking, what it could mean, moving people from different areas, how would you say we've made, what kind of impact have we made in different areas, different states, people who do things thinking that they were helping people and not knowing that, look, this is actually not the way to go about it? Has the awareness grown? How do we fare in that regard?
Yeah, the awareness has grown thanks to the social media. Nigerians are social media savvy. We carry a lot of awareness on the social media through very short clips. We have some state task forces on human trafficking, and that is really working. COVID came and slowed us down really well, because by now we ought to have established anti-human trafficking task forces in about 9 states. But that has not deterred us. We're going to be moving as quickly as possible, because when you have the anti-human trafficking task forces, it makes coordination between the states and the federal government a lot easier. The state government has a role to play, a huge role to play, and they need to ensure that, for starters, education is free and compulsory. They need to empower the women, the mothers of these people. You know, there's so much that the state government has to do. The federal government cannot do this alone. We have NGOs, we have CSOs, we also have the media. Everyone has a role to play in carrying out sensitization and education. Education is a huge problem. Most of those who are trafficked are not really educated. Then we have the issue of ignorance as well. And of course, poverty has a role to play on the part of the family members.
Now, when I started out initially talking about the volume, you know, the challenge that we face globally, looking at some reports which indicated that, well, the human trafficking, it's a form of modern-day slavery, but it involves, this is a commercial gain which they estimated, according to the UN report, saying it's $150 billion global industry. And then there you go, some of the other figures, that the reasons why some persons just stick their neck on this one. When you speak about states, the NGOs, the role that they have to perform, how would you say that, I mean, in terms of provision of getting them stable, economically speaking, because it's one thing to bring them back to the country, but we need to engage them, else we'll be making it a lot more difficult. Do we have framework and structures now such that whatever we do when we get them back, do we properly engage? What have you noticed in that regard, and what do we need to do differently?
Well, I would speak for NAPTIP. I cannot really speak for the states because they also have a role to play in terms of rehabilitation and empowerment of the victims. When these victims are returned, we ensure that they are counseled, they are given medical treatment, they are rehabilitated, they learn a skill or two, or those who want to go back to school also go back to school to get a formal education. As soon as they are done, we partner with IOM to ensure that they are empowered, and almost all of them that have come back have been empowered. But for those who are rescued by their various states, I really can't speak for them. I really don't know how they empower them, and they ought to empower them, because there is a protocol. There is a protocol for sheltering, rehabilitation, empowerment, and reunification, and I hope and believe that the states are doing that.
Does that suggest that they've not been coordinating with NAPTIP?
Well, some of the states have been coordinating with NAPTIP, and that's the importance of having the anti-human trafficking task force, because the chair of the task force is the Attorney General of the state. The co-chair is the zonal commander of NAPTIP. So yes, for those states that have anti-human trafficking task forces, I know we have very serious synergy and cooperation going on. We know what they are doing. But for those states that don't have these anti-human trafficking task forces, we've heard little or nothing from most of them. That is why we want to quickly set up anti-human trafficking task forces, so we can have a very free and easy flow of communication and synergy between the state and the federal government.
Well, I'm looking at a number of what is supposed to be deterrence, you know, on your website, especially concerning the enforcement of the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. And one of the punishments, if we can call it that, is violence by state actors. It's imprisonment not exceeding 4 years, or a fine not exceeding 1,000 naira, compared to political violence, imprisonment not exceeding 4 years, or a fine of 500,000 naira. Violence by state actors, 1,000 naira fine. Political violence, 500,000 naira fine. Both are bad. But do you see this as being, you know, efficient enough to deter people? Because, I mean, if it is easy to pay all of these, how is this law going to be enforced? Violence against persons don't happen.
Absolutely not. It's not good at all. It's inadequate, and we're working towards amending the law, and we hope that very soon it will be amended. There's so much to amend. We didn't write the laws, and so we hope that they will be amended.
Could you tell us a little bit about what's happening, how, because we understand that NAPTIP is in charge of the National Register for for rape cases. There's been a lot of effort on the part of state government. They talk about activating the necessary laws to see what we can do to stem this completely or reduce to the barest minimum. What's going on in that regard?
Yeah, it's called the Nigeria Sexual Offenders Register, domiciled in NAPTIP. The idea is to name and shame sexual offenders. No sexual offender will want to be named and shamed. I think it will serve as a serious deterrent to sexual offenders. And we're on it, and we're hoping to share information with other law enforcement agencies and other partners as well, so that we can have a comprehensive sexual offenders register that is up to date. We have a platform already, and we're still enlightening people to tell them the importance of sharing information. It's not good enough for everyone to be talking, from all from different angles. Police will tell you, oh, we've prosecuted 1 million. Someone else will tell you 2 million, and then nobody knows about it. So it's good for us to work together and share this information. We had a meeting a few weeks ago, and I hope going forward we'll be sharing information so we can give you an accurate figure of actual sexual offenders. I know Ekiti State have their own sexual offenders register as well, and they publish names, which is a very good thing. But we need to all come together to share this information so we'll be in a more coordinated manner.
All right, so we do thank you, and we hope that, well, whatever it is that can be done, the media, I suggest, at least we will always be here to lend a voice and ensure society gets all of these right. We thank you for coming on, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you very much.
All right, then, so we'll be back in just a moment. Join us again. Well, that is part of what we're going to focus on for this. There's the House caucus. They addressed the journalists yesterday. So we've got one of the members who were there yesterday, Honorable Amos Maguji, joining us this morning from our studios in Abuja. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Yes, we know.
Yeah, good morning.
This is a huge challenge and a huge concern that we need to address. But I know that the governor also spoke recently about this matter. But concerning some of those, the caucus did identify some of the challenges, but what kind of interface is going on from your perspective between perhaps the security agencies, maybe your caucus, the state government? What's happening in that area? It looks as if there's a huge gap, hence the need why the caucus had to raise an alarm.
Yeah, thank you very much. Several times we receive security information from the people on ground concerning attacks, and especially there was an attack that took place in Kaura local government, and then I was speaking with the rep and he raised an alarm, and I gathered that they even informed the security agent concerning the alarm, concerning the security threats. But unfortunately, the same thing happened. So sometimes we wonder what is going on, because if there's a threat and then the security apparatus are well informed, we expect that everything has to be done to prevent the event occurring. But unfortunately, we keep receiving reports that there's going to be an attack here, and sometimes you just feel it's a rumor. And until you see that attack happen, you now begin to wonder, So anytime we receive news now, we try to make sure that we inform the security apparatus to be on ground and then be at watch. But unfortunately, every now and then, the same thing will happen.
But some of what we've seen and read, some security agents are quoted to have said, this is not just a one-sided attack, because it appears that that's a picture that has been painted. Is that the case?
The statistics are there for everybody to see. I'm not saying that a Fulani man has never been killed in southern Kaduna. I'm not saying that a Hausa man has never been killed in southern Kaduna, but look at the population of the people in southern Kaduna. The Fulani men are still grazing, the Hausa are still living. So if the natives of southern Kaduna don't want others to live there, I believe that the rate of killings would have been higher than what you are recording. The government is aware of some of the situation and the problems. Immediately we see anything, we complain and we raise an alarm. But unfortunately, most times things are not handled the way it should be handled.
Do you
Look
mean,
at
give
the
us an
statistics
example.
of present killings.
What do you mean things are not handled the way they have to be handled?
Yeah, because, for example, when there are issues of conflicts between different communities, things have to be sorted out immediately. The problem in Zangon, Kataf, and major part of southern Kaduna have been there for long. The crisis in 1992, there were a lot of recommendations. But unfortunately, many of those recommendations were not implemented. The land dispute is there. And then, of course, there are several issues of inequality, negligence by government. There is no federal presence in southern Kaduna, especially the constituency I represent, Zangon, Kataf, and Jaba.
So, if that were the case, okay, you know what, just give us a moment. We'll come back and take a look at some of those issues that you've just mentioned in a moment. Please stay with us. Honorable Magaji, just heard the governor talk about that they're coming up with a white paper with a view to implement that report, but you had said that nothing is being done, it's not been implemented, but there are steps being taken. And those statements or decisions of intent, which is aimed at solving the problem?
The white paper of the report of the crisis in 1992 had not been implemented to the letter. Some things have been done, but there are major areas, especially flash points where crises easily emanate. Many of those things have not been dealt with. That's why even if you hear the report of the governor said since 1992, 28 years after the crisis in Zango, and it's now they are reviewing again, looking back at the white paper that was issued since 1992 crisis. So a lot has not really been done to address this issue. He was also talking about narratives. Different narratives are coming from different sides concerning the killing. Sometimes you open your WhatsApp message, you hear 20-something people have been killed, 300 cattle have been roasted, 1 million, all those things. They have a way of fueling this crisis. And we as leaders have been calling our people, and everyone sitting in southern Kaduna, to be law-abiding and to also be careful with giving false report. But some of the evidences, the killings are there for everyone to verify. You won't play politics with the death of a family member. Never. Because if you are playing politics with it, there are family bleeding. I won't wake up tomorrow and say 20 people have been killed when it's just 2 people. Because the killings in southern Kaduna, you can go back to the families. There are records, there are names attached and villages attached to everyone that has been killed. So we in southern Kaduna, especially the representative, nobody representing people or in leadership position will be happy to see his area of authority or jurisdiction under fire. Nobody, except the person has a wicked heart. I've not been sleeping since this crisis started. I've been affected in different areas, emotionally, financially, in different areas. So there's no way somebody...
Can you hear me?
Especially
Guys, can we see that he can hear me?
Will be happy to see...
Honorable, just hang on a minute. Let's bring in Mr. Ibrahim Biu, who is the former public secretary of the ACF. He joins us on the line this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. Listening to all of this, the key question will always be, yes, in a view to get a solution to this problem. Could you tell us, from your understanding, why do you think this festers? Oh, dear. Okay. Turns out that we lost him. But let's get back to Honorable Magaji on this one. Well, this particular challenge now in the House, is this something that the caucus, particularly now that that report seems to consider it important to implement, is the caucus going to see how they can broach this topic on the floor of the House?
Yeah, we have motions in regard to the issue in Southern Kaduna. We have met with different stakeholders. We have also met with governor, I think several times, and then some key government representatives. We have also had meetings with our people, different communities in different tribes, different people's group in our constituency. We are there always trying to broker peace. The House is, as you saw in our press release, we are in dire need of peace in our community. And that's why we'll do everything possible to support the government in bringing a lasting solution to this crisis. But we want every quarter to be sincere. In dealing with every matter, the truth must stand, and we must face the truth. If not that we're saying today that, okay, we want peace, and we go behind and fuel crisis. So everyone in the place of authority must be seen to be sincere, and must be sincere in every action, secretly and openly. That is the only way we can have a lasting solution. Not that we stand in TV, we give press statement and say we want peace, we have taken every step, and then we go back and do the contrary.
Just one moment, Honourable. There was really something you said earlier about the report that the Kaduna State government is trying to put together since over the past 28 years. You said some things have been implemented, but some critical things have not been implemented, which is why it seems the crisis is festering. What are these critical things that you think will help to bring the peace?
There is always the issue of land dispute between the Hausa and the Kataf community. And even what brought about this crisis started on the 5th of June. And it was the same issue, land dispute. So if government decide now to settle the land, is it going to be given to Qatar? Is it the Hausa land? Or is government going to take that land? Whatever. But let there be an immediate solution to that problem so that going into next year farming season, the owners of the land will know that I am the one going to farm here. Every farming season, the Qatar will come, the Hausa will come, and say, we are going to farm this land, or whoever goes first to cultivate the land, and then crisis begins. So these are some of the key areas. Some of the issues that were settled before were issues like the district heads of Zango community, and then Zango community now is even a ward on its own.
I think we'll
some of them have been implemented. But
okay, I think we'll have Mr. Brian Biu back on the line this morning. Mr. Biu, can you hear us now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so what's going on in your mind about why this persists?
Well, I've heard what I think Magaji, is it Magaji? Yeah, said, and I think I concur with what he said, given the historical background of this crisis from 1987 to 1992 crisis, and maybe to about 2000, this Sharia crisis and so on. We really have to go back to the historical issues that necessitated this kind of conflicts between the indigenous and the settlers, and also go back to the recommendations by the panels of inquiry or judicial commission of inquiry that were set up by various regimes. Look at the recommendations and see how you can implement them for peaceful coexistence among these people that have been living for years. And in my mind, I think some of the issues that we are having there are political, being engineered by some politicians. Otherwise, people, over the years have lived peacefully. They have tolerated each other. They have coexisted peacefully. But in the last maybe 30 years or so, we have had...
Is it your view then that government has been, do we say, negligent and foot dragging about solving this problem?
No, you cannot. You see, that's what I'm saying. That if some of the recommendations, or if the recommendations of the Judicial Commission of Inquiry set up in 1987, 1992, and others were fully implemented, I'm sure the crisis we are having now wouldn't have arisen in the first place. Secondly, we also have to realize that because of political power or contest for political power, there has been a lot of instigations by politicians to bring crisis in that area, not only in southern Kaduna, but if we look at it, we have crises all over in the north. We have crises in Birningwari, very close here. We have crises in Katsina and so many places of these bandits, farmers, herders, clash, etc. So really, in my opinion, I think we should give a chance to some of the mechanisms being put by government to settle this crisis. And most importantly, we must also cooperate with the security agencies, because some of these things that happen, really, if you look at it, people don't just come and attack people. Somebody must have said that. So if we don't share intelligence with the security agencies, then the community will be failing in protecting its own self.
Just one moment. You referenced the 1987 wildfire crisis, and of course the 1992 report that was a product of the Judicial Panel of Inquiry. In these 2 years, 87 and 92, we did not have we didn't have civilian rule per se. We only had military rule. So between the military rule and the civilian rule, we haven't been able to solve this communal, problem over the past 30 or so years. What exactly do you think we are missing in solving this problem? Yes, you have mentioned a number of things, but it is curious that neither the security agencies, military or police, or the political class or governments of the successive governments of the military or civilian have been able to do anything concrete and decisive about this. Isn't it curious?
No government. The essence of government, like we always say, is security of the people and welfare of the people. No administration will be happy to see that its own people are being killed or there is insecurity in that area. So for us to say that government has not taken action, I think we are not being fair. Considering...
Just one moment, you said now that the issues are political. That's why I raised that issue.
No, this is what I'm saying, that some of the issues, for people who have coexisted for over 200-300 years peacefully, just in the last 30 years or so, for whatever reason, we've been having crises which are being engineered by politicians. And let me tell you, even if, for example, whatever happens in southern Kaduna, you now say, the way we read it in the papers, Fulanis attack so. But if it happens somewhere else, you said bandits. These are some of the issues that instigate people. We should be fair in reporting some of these issues correctly. So to me, government, in as much as government has all the powers at its disposal, but we, the community, must also help government in trying to bring peace and restore harmony within the area in which we live. Because if there is something happening, definitely we have traditional leaders, community leaders, and so on. And they get reports on what is happening in that area. So it should be, or they have the responsibility to report such things promptly so that security can be proactive. But it's only when things happen, then there will be security meetings, everybody will be blaming this person, blaming that person. I don't think it's good for us as a nation. So we should work together. That is the community, the security agencies. Government, on its own part, should ensure that if people are indicted in whatever commission of inquiry or whatever, then the necessary punishment as prescribed by our law should be meted on them so that it will serve as a deterrent to others. But as long as people who instigate or who commit this kind of crimes are left free to move freely, then you should expect reprisal attack on those who feel that they have been cheated.
Honorable Amos Mogaji, you want to react to some of the things that you just heard Mr. Biu say, especially about the fact that there are some political undertones? Do you agree with him?
I wouldn't completely say no. The political undertone or the political angle to that problem may not even be localized. It can come from different angles. It can come from the state. It can come from the federal. Like you said, politics is all about governance. Politics is all about security of life and welfare. So in handling these issues, I want us to really look at it critically. You see, there's no way you would deal with the problem of Southern Kaduna and not look at the issue of inequality. If you really want to solve the problems, it is part of the problems. And then, like he said, a white paper or recommendation committee had been set up to investigate that issue, and then there was no implementation. So if government really wants a lasting solution to a problem, I know that there are immediate solutions to problems to quench an immediate problem, but there are also long-term strategies to deal with problems, which will go to the root cause of the matter. But most times, when there are problems, we gather, keep having meetings, resolve, let's talk to ourselves, and so on, and, appeal to everybody to be law-abiding. But after that, what happens? We don't go back to look at the root cause of those problems. And until we deal with the root causes, we cannot have a lasting, solution. So my own concern is government should look at this thing, because you see, okay, look at the problems we're having right now. Because we have allowed this thing to linger, it has now stressed the security apparatus in that area. So if we really want peace, and I dare say nobody in Southern Kaduna, the Hausa, the Fulani, the tribal, indigenous, the natives of the owners of the land, all of them want peace.
Naturally.
Because if they don't want peace, they would have left that area.
So,
we need to
as we
rise up
wind
to
down
make
now,
sure
Honorable
that
Magaji, just a
some of
moment.
those flashes, some of those things that
Let's wind down now to get both of you to speak on this matter. Now, there are several reports that we've seen, several communities. It's not just peculiar to Zangon Qatar. We've seen in Plateau State, in Benue State, in Taraba State, different scenarios playing out. And sometimes it doesn't look as simple as some paint it to be, farmer-headed clashes. No, there are more intricate and complex matters. So also is the solution to some of these things. So what role, I know that you talked about the white paper and different things that have been done, but do you think that the communities, community leaders themselves, have to actually approach this in a different way? Do they see it beyond farmer-headed clashes, or that is what they see it as?
There are different angles to this. I believe that, first of all, the land issue has always been the problem. Like, it's not just the issue of this land belongs to this land belongs to this. But you see, we really need to look at, as a nation, our laws concerning grazing. Because if it is not land dispute, most times, when you look at the crisis around between farmers and herders, has always been, okay, somebody's, cattle entered into somebody's farm, destroy his crops, and the person probably in reacting may not report this issue to the security agent or the local governing system that they have, like traditional ruler. Some of them would take the law, will apply the law and then go about probably
just
dealing with the issue immediately.
Just a minute, Honorable Magaji, just in conclusion to this, could you just tell me, I mean, these communities, have they ever bothered to find out from those who trample on their products why that happens, to understand why it's going on, with a view to seeing how we could change mindsets if something is wrong?
Yeah, I sat with the community. During this crisis, I had a meeting with the leaders of Fulani, leaders of Hausa, leaders of the Qatar. I had meetings with the Islamic group, the Christian group, and all the stakeholders in that community. And one of the problems that some of them said is that they were complaining that right now, many adults are not leading their cattle. They leave it in the hands of children. And then some, when they are flipping through their phones, they allow the cattle to graze into. We've seen it even in Abuja here, that sometimes cattle graze even on roads. And then when you look at the people that are leading or controlling, shepherding these cattle, you discover that most of them they are children. So sometimes we also need, I won't say that cows are there, and then the people in Southern Kaduna are also living in peace with this Fulani. I have Fulanis living in my ancestral family land. So I wouldn't say that people don't like Fulani to stay there. But the issue is that when they are grazing, they should be sure that they graze properly, not to enter people's farmland. And then if Fulani enters your farmland, you shouldn't go and start attacking the cow or attacking the Fulani. Go and report the issue to the traditional rulers or to the security agents that are in that place.
All right, then. Let's bring in Mr. Bew to give us his thoughts as well before we wind down. Mr. Brian Bew, could you go ahead and speak? I understand you wanted to just come in at some point. Go ahead now.
No. I think I agreed with most of the suggestions he's making. In fact, traditionally, the Fulani and the farmers, or the herders and the farmers, coexisted. And if, for any reason, your cow or your cattle goes into somebody's farm, the Fulani, they have their own leaders called Arcos. And these issues are being settled between the Arco and the community leaders. And the Fulani is made to pay for the crops that were destroyed. But that system somehow has been abandoned. So if now a cow goes into somebody's farm and eats it, the next thing is that the farmer picks up his gun or whatever, and either shoot the cow or even the shepherd. So that generates crisis. We have had reports of that kind of issues. So just like he suggested, let's go back to the traditional system of resolving this kind of crisis between farmers and herders. And also, let me appeal to our politicians. For God's sake, most of us reside in the cities. But if something happens in the villages, you instigate people. This is very unfair. We are not treated like this. Most of us that are above the age of 60, we had peaceful coexistence. I've been in Kaduna for over 50 years of my life. I went to Barrier College University, and I went with many people from southern Kaduna who are still very close friends of mine. If there is anything, we attend their ceremony. We live together. Some of them are Christians. I am a Muslim. But this is not an issue between us. We look at that relationship. Well, when we were kids, we were all brought together. So let's go back to that kind of system. That is the only solution. But as long as some of us, for whatever interest, personal interest, try to instigate people to cause crisis while you stay in the comforts of Kaduna or Abuja or Zaria, I think we are not being fair to our community.
And that's a good place to let it go. Mr. Ibrahim Bu, former spokesperson for the ACF, and Honorable Magaji, representing the Zango Kataf in Southern Kaduna. Thank you both for talking to us today.
Thank you.
So we'll be back and focus on politics in a moment. Don't go away. Welcome back. Yes, focusing on Edo politics now. We've got Emmanuel Odigye, who was the former commissioner with the Edo State Oil and Gas Commission. He's a member of the APC. Well, we also have joining us via Skype from Benin, Ms. Chris Nahikari, who is the publicity secretary of the PDP. Thank you for joining us as well. Let me start with you, Mr. Odigye. Yes. Looking at this, when you were a former commissioner for Edo State Oil and Gas Commission, many thought that, okay, is that PDP because the governor is PDP? Yeah. Now you are a member of APC. What happened?
You know, it's clear. As a party man, you know, we supported Obaseki under the APC platform. And when he defected to the PDP, he told all his appointees, please come with me. You know, and I, for one, I want to speak for myself and my constituency. You know, and I said, I need to evaluate what he has done so far. And if it's worth following him for, crashing my political capital and letting go of my political ambition, having been in APC from the days of AC to ACN, now APC.
What's the ambition?
To run, I've contested for House of Representatives twice, and I still hope to contest. And that's why I have built and nurtured a political structure for so long. And if the governor has done well, by my assessment, if he has met his campaign promises to my people, it would have been enough reason for me to say, Mr. Governor, you have done well, and we abandon my party and go with you to PDP.
So this is about what he's done or not to your constituency
to Edo
and
people.
Not the performance?
The performance, generally, the performance. Generally, I will tell you this much. When Adams Oshomole sold Godwin Obaseki to us, some of us, I, for one, I was skeptical. I was like, comrade governor, this man has been in Edo for 8 years. He has not built friendship with any senatorial district. He has no friends in Benin.
What do you mean friends? By distributing things?
No, not distributing anything. You must know people for you to lead them. You must understand people for you to be able to provide their needs. You must be part of a people for you to provide leadership. You cannot provide leadership to people you do not know, people that have no access to you, that you have not interacted with, socialized with. Those were my concerns. And I remember raising them to our comrade governor then. And he said to me, Prince, don't worry. I know Godwin. He will deliver. He would carry on this good work. He will build on my legacy. You would remember that Adams Oshomole was so popular. In the second term election, there was no rancor. He tagged his second election campaign, Operation Show Your Report Card. I was on that campaign trail. I went with him to the 18 local government, 192 wards in Edo. And by the time he starts to show his report card, Adams Oshomole will say, on paper, Airport Road, I mark Airport Road. On paper, New Era College, I mark New Era College. Red Roof Revolution, I mark on paper, is on ground. The list is endless. Specialist Hospital, on paper, I mark. General Hospital in my village, roads network in my village that are still there till today, roads that were constructed 10 years ago, no pothole. On paper, I mark is there. And before Oshomole will begin to say, if you vote for me a second time, I will do, they will say, carry go, Osho Baba, you have done well. It was like that. And the election was so sweet that my party APC, we won in the 18 local governments of Edo State. In history, it has never happened. And Oshomole became the first governor since democracy in Edo to hand over to his successor. It has never happened because the man did well.
So why are you
he
not
did
going
so
to...
well that the Oba of Benin, of blessed memory, Omonoba Erediawa,
So hasn't
now
Mr. Obaseki
adopted
done
him
well?
as the son. If Obaseki has done well, I will not resign from his government.
Okay.
If Obaseki has done well, the APC leadership will not refuse to give him a ticket, a return ticket.
Okay, but Mr. Nahikari, you heard him now. He basing this on performance. He doesn't think that Mr. Obaseki has the scorecard, if I could use your word,
He has no report card to show.
What do you
That
say
is
to
why
that?
it's all assassination of character, bringing down Edo people.
Go ahead, Mr.
He
Nahikari.
has report card.
Good morning, and thank you, Chamberlain, for having me today. I think it's very important for us to, first of all, draw a line between self-interest and Edo State interest. I think Governor Obaseki is the first governor that is taking Edo first. It's important for us to also know that those that are resigning, including my brother there in your studio, were all nominees of Adams Oshomole. They only called it to the government because Adams Oshomole nominated them to run the election. And then for maximum press effect, they are resigning one by one from the commissions or ministries or boards that they were put to superintend. You will agree with me. Wow.
Here, you just press a button, just press the right one and go ahead. It can happen. Go ahead.
Chumley, can I quickly react?
You can.
Just a minute. You will.
You will agree.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You will agree with me that Edo State Edo State is actually now enjoying the dividend of democracy for the first time. You see, what has happened is that Godwin Obaseki has refused to do roads at 1 million naira or $1 million per kilometer, which was prevalent under the Adams Oshomole government, which my brother was a great beneficiary, my brother there in your studio. And when this government came and tried to instill financial discipline on Edo people, first starting with the APC members and on all Edo people, financial discipline, they were not happy. They hounded him because their so much infrastructure was not being maintained. The governor did the best he could. If you are competent in any of the industries, I'm sure he would have listened to them, given them jobs what they wanted. But they didn't even want jobs. They wanted cash to be shared. And this is the cause of the problem they have in Edo State.
But Mr. Naikari, there are those who have spoken about the governor showing projects, pointing to projects as campaign that is done.
Talk about the governor's performance. I didn't hear that.
Go ahead. They say he's not talking about what has he done to warrant a second term.
Oh, you see, that is a narrative which is very laughable. What has he done? If I start to list now, we'll be here till 2 a.m. tomorrow morning. First and foremost, let's talk about the simple reforms in the pension sector. The pensioners from today, or from since Obaseki came in, they received their pensions as at when due. He is not owing the pensioners one kobo. He cleared over 25 billion of pensions arrears for the last 8 years that were accumulated under the Shomole regime. All that has been taken care of. All the pensioners get their money as at when due. No pensioner is owed any arrears. Now, in talk of the education sector, he has done a lot in terms of teachers training the trainers, children having playgrounds, people enjoying education, not just in the formal education, even the vocational education. The government has done so much in that area that we have probably the best technical college in the whole of West Africa today in Edo State. Now, talk about the health sector. With the steps taken for the COVID issue, the response of the state government in the COVID issue, we have done so well.
As you spent on that?
Industries, employment, farming. So when they say the government hasn't done well, it is because they are not getting what they want. They think development or doing well is for them to be serviced as a people.
Okay, Mr. Neka, just hang on a minute. So okay, you're itching to respond.
Yes.
Go ahead.
You know, I want to first, Neka is my very good friend. I want to first debunk, the statement made by somebody that knows my family so well, Chief Danobi, and Don Pedro Obaseki, a very good friend of mine. Chief Danobi is a friend of my elder brother. And I have known Danobi in the days of NCPN, when it was living in Port Harcourt, trying to come to Edo to be governor. Then, my family is a very huge family. My grandfather married 67 wives. There are close to 5,000 of DGS in the world. And Pedro Obaseki knows my family house. And he said, I am Clara Oshomole's younger brother. That Oshomole appointed me.
But this is about political interest.
And that is not true. Why lie? Clara Oshomola, I would be proud to say Clara Oshomola is my sister. But we are just from the same village, not even the same quarters.
Okay, but
I want to first debunk that. And I want to come to the issues of roads. He said they do no longer, spend millions to tie a kilometer of road. Chambali, my brother, I would personally pay for a team of Channels Television to go on a tour with me to see for themselves the road that was constructed 8 years ago by Adams Oshomole. Even in my village, Igwebe Agadaga Ewukimi Road, there is no single pothole. The roads that were constructed last year by this present administration.
Yeah, he said they don't longer spend.
The rain has washed all away. That was not done in good faith. I will tell you this much. In Etsopadek, we've constructed roads. That's the truth. But are they durable? The standard Adams Oshomole brought into road construction.
So they were not durable?
Not! Go to Benin.
But you were a commissioner.
See, the consultants will come with specification. I can say for a truth, you can invite the consultant to this station to come face me. Mm-hmm. And we went to an inspection. And I told him I have a problem with this design. And he said to me, you seem to be a very tactical person, a practical person. And that, look, the governor has said he's not ready to spend beyond SYZ. And they know, as consultant, that these roads will not stand the test of time. So what he tried to do was to paint Adams Oshomole black.
But when that happened,
yes,
what did you do about it?
I complained. And I said, no, this is not...
To the commissioner, did you take it beyond telling the person that was constructing at that point?
Of course. We had a joint meeting. Other commission members could attest to that.
With who?
With the consultant. And they said they are working strictly on instruction. And so what could I do?
Did you ask the governor, is it true?
Who has access to the governor? His commissioners do not have access to him. His council chairman have no access. The people we can access are the amiable deputy governor, the SSG.
So if you say they don't spend that amount of money to construct roads, how do you are you saying that is not true, that you spend far much more to construct roads and they're not durable?
They spend much more and they are not durable. But not because they have reduced the standard. And also Oshomole believes in quality.
Okay, let's quickly bring him in. Just a minute.
Now let me go on to contracts. He said people are resigning because we are not being patronized. And I will tell you this much, Chamberlain. Go to Edo and check. 8 years of Adams Oshomole's administration. Roads were done.
Why did you wait till now to resign?
No, wait. Because he's leaving my party. I'm a party man. Why should I go with him?
No, but he didn't leave your party today.
I have to think. I have to consult. Read my resignation letter. It is clear that after due consultation, I have to seek people's opinion across the state. I'm a politician. I have run 2 elections. I can't just jump. So I have to talk to people. I have to evaluate. Look, I try to see if there is a tiny light on the channel.
The project that he's spoken about, the trainings, the funds, the pensions that are being paid, do you consider them as worthy causes?
I see, the only achievement, as far as I'm concerned, as far as Edo people are concerned, of Governor Obaseki's 4 years, is Edo Best Initiative. I give it to Dr. Joanne of Yahweh, a fantastic lady.
Okay, let Mr.
She has performed.
Mr.
Apart
Nekari,
from Edo Best, what else? Audio.
Go ahead, Mr. Nekari.
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me very well. The network's a bit fluffy.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Talking about roads, I'll just go back to that. At least he admitted that in his commission, they did some roads. Unfortunately for them, in that commission, especially those that resigned, and I think 2 or 3 of them that resigned, they were not able to pad it the way they were used to doing under Adams Oshomole. The governor nipped that, and that is why most of them are going back to Adams Oshomole to open our state treasury back to them so they can loot with reckless abandon. This is why there's a problem in Edo State. But Edo people know the difference between a governor that have them first and those that are interested in their treasury. And that is the advantage we have in this election. And we are going to exploit it and going to use it because we trust the governor to be prudent, to keep Edo people first all the times. Now, the reforms is what they don't want. For the taxation, there's now a humane and responsible way and an accountable way in which taxes are collected in Edo State. This also offends their sensibilities.
Mr. Nekari, just one moment. I mean, listening to you now, some would wonder if Governor Obaseki wasn't in your party, wasn't your candidate, would you be saying what you're saying now? Would you be campaigning for him, so to speak? Would you say that he has actually performed? Because APC will be the one saying the things that you're saying now. Your party had a list of governors, of contenders, before Governor Obaseki joined your party.
If Obaseki was not in my party, I would not have campaigned for him. But as soon as he joined my party, and I had access to more information, access to more government business, access to the things he was doing, I have to say that when we campaigned against him, we didn't have all this information. And we actually, personally, I think I actually owe him an apology for those things I said without adequate information. And I think those that are left also owe him an apology for going out to say he was not doing anything. He's done a lot more than we anticipated, a lot more than we saw. And then that is the position of not just me, but of the majority of Edo people. The projects he has done were not exhibited because he has been actually very quiet in terms of showing up what he has done. Okay. It's not the one who jumps into gullies and jumps out of gullies to attract news all the time. No, he's not. We discovered that he has brought a form of private sector initiative into governance. They work quietly, systematically to achieve results. They have increased the efficiency of running our state government and increased performance by increasing efficiency.
Chris, you live in Benin. How can it be that now that Obaseki has come to PDP, that you now have access to what he has done? I thought what he has done should be visible for all to see. You see, it's audio on papers. No iMac.
Can he respond to what you're saying?
So Chris, please, you've just destroyed Obaseki's little chances.
Can he respond?
Mr. Nekari, can you quickly respond? Just one moment. Can you quickly respond to what he has said?
Nothing on ground to show. That's why you are just.
Please go ahead, Mr. Just one moment. Please go ahead, Mr. Nekari.
Deny the reforms in the judicial sector. Can you deny the reforms in the health sector or education sector? Can you deny what is going on in Edo jobs? Can you deny what is going on in the innovative hub? These are things that are visible to everyone. Everyone is seeing them today. And my duty and the duty of my people is to bring it out to the world. You yourself, you know that these things are real. The farming sector, the agri sector has been revamped in Edo State. These are not things you call audio things, but it is spread across the individual districts. The College of Education, the specialist hospital that Adams commissioned without equipment. The governor came, did a deal and struck a deal to make sure that hospital is equipped, and today it is working. Is this audio?
Okay, all right.
All right. I want to quickly say, you know, a governor that has performed need not to try to destroy those that are not supportive of his second-term re-election bid. You know, Edo people knows when Obaseki came to Edo, he was relatively unknown. Even vast majority of Obaseki family has not even met him. I know his cousins that said they've never met him. He rode on Adams Oshomole's massive goodwill. The goodwill of Edo people who held sway.
We'll come back and let both of you conclude your thoughts. We need to go to break. Just hold on. Join us again. All right, Mr. Dige, 60 seconds. Wrap up your thoughts, please.
Edo people has rejected Godwin Obaseki based on the fact that he told us he's an investment banker, and we believed him. Today, Edo Pharmaceuticals, Bender Insurance, EU Flour Mill, Eho Juice Factory, Casavita, the list is endless. Bender Breweries, none of these industries is operating today because Godwin Obaseki has no capacity to get investors to partner with government to revive these industries, to employ Edo people. Edo people have a problem with that. So he lied to us. We have a problem with the fact that Godwin Obaseki shut down several institutions, College of Education, Ekadolo, College of Agriculture, Igoraki, School of Nursing, Edo. The list is endless. And I will tell you this much. He's a man that has done well for his people. Need not to seek to destroy people that are not supportive of his ambition. Right. Take, for example, a great man of Edo, truly loved by all, a philanthropist by excellence.
Thank you.
Captain
Let's get Mr. Nekari. All right, hang on. Mr. Nekari, go ahead, please.
I think I heard my brother listing some industries which are moribund or which are collapsed under the candidate who was SSG at the time that is today trying to market. However, we are confident of what our Governor Obaseki is doing in Edo State. He has brought in investors from all over the world, creating industrial parks, and making Edo State the economic hub of West Africa. We are impressed with him, and Edo people are happy with him and know that they will not go back to a regime where thugs are the official tax collectors, where thugs are the official military arm of the government. However, before I round up, I think I can just tell Edo people that for a peaceful and non-violent election and a state, we all have to support the PDP candidate, the governor, to make sure that our state remains sane in the hands of responsible and decent people. And now, in the words of our opponents a few years ago in the campaign ground, he said,
all right, Mr. Nekari, thank you as well. Thank you, both of you, Mr. Chris Nekari of the PDP and Emmanuel Odigie, who is of the APC. Thank you both for coming on today.
Thank you so much.
All right, so Mark, go ahead and take a look at some of the emails now.
Can I get a clip of that?
Okay, hold on. Let's go ahead and take a look at the emails then. We thought that Mark will start off some of the first ones, but we got this one from Ayoade Shorunke, who says, until politics and corruption are removed from our security architecture, we will keep having unending security challenges.
Makwe, go ahead.
Well, looking at this one now from this mail, I think from Dari, it says Nigeria politics is a funny drama. For the past 3 years plus, PDP has been saying Governor Obaseki never did anything for Edo people, while APC was saying he did well. Now, since he decamped just a few weeks ago, he's done great according to the PDP, and APC now saying he did nothing. What a funny world.
All right, so there you go. That's politics for you in Nigeria, so let the people decide what they want for themselves. That is the show today. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Osa.
I'm Ayo Makinde. Have a wonderful day and please keep safe.
And I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf. Enjoy the holiday.